listening to Lexington Legends Inside Scoop, and our guest is Major League umpire Sam Holbrook, who lives here in Lexington, a native Kentuckian who holds a couple of degrees from Eastern Kentucky University, been in the major leagues, first reached the major leagues in 1998. And Sam, it's good to have you with us again, and tell us a little bit about your off season this time. I know last year when we talked about this time, you were having some knee surgery done. Everything good physically this time around?
Yeah, I think everything's good here, Keith. As far as that, it's the first off season in a while that I haven't had some kind of nagging injury that I've been trying to work my way through physical therapy through. But feeling pretty good, and I can't believe a year has gone by since I spoke with you last.
It has been a year, and now spring training again approaches. And what will be your timetable as far as the rest of the off season and then the spring training schedule is concerned? Do you know that yet?
Well, we've got our annual meetings where we have our physicals and go over rule changes and rules reviews and so forth like that coming up here in a couple of weeks, and then spring training starts a little bit earlier this year. Starts the last few days of February, so plan on heading down to Florida about that time.
One part of the umpires' off-season this year has been the vote by the owners to approve the use of replay or expanded use of replay in baseball to include things other than the home run rulings. Tell us about where that stands right now and what you might expect to happen between now and the start of the 2014 season.
Well, we're looking forward to getting out to our meetings out in Arizona. Of course, that's going to be one of the really big topics that we will be discussing. But we've been in negotiations with the Office of the Commissioner as well as the Players Union. Just basically what we're doing now. I mean, we know it's coming. We know it's here, and we just want to work out the best system possible to cover all of the plays that we need to have covered. You know, there's a lot of things that people don't understand. You know, they think, oh, well, you just have replay and you just correct the missed call. But baseball kind of runs on, points of if this happens, then this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and it goes further on down the line. For instance, if you have a runners on first and second and a trap ball in the outfield and the umpires call it a catch, the runners would hold up or whatever like that. But then if you go to replay and decide, oh, well, the ball did actually hit the ground, now the question comes up, okay, what do we do with the runners? What would this runner have done? Would they have thrown this guy out? So forth like that. So that's some of the issues that we're trying to work through, how we're going to staff the replay booth, basically, and what plays we're going to cover, and, what's the best technology-wise, what's the best things that we can do or utilize to make it as fast as we can possible. Because the one thing that nobody wants is for the game to be slowed down any more than it already is. And we're hoping that this will eliminate some of the longer arguments between umpires and players and then umpires and managers, and that we can just have a challenge system and go, basically directly to the replay and get a quick and decisive answer from the replay umpire and get the game moving back on and with the correct call. So.
And at this stage now, the owners voted approval for funding of the replay system to be used on an expanded basis, but the umpires union, the players union have to weigh in and eventually grant approval or their support of the project. So there's a few more things that actually have to happen before we'll see this in operation. Is that correct at this point?
Well, yeah. I think it's going to be rolled out. I believe they're going to do their best to roll it out during spring training so that we can have some training on it and kind of work out some of the bugs and kinks. The bad thing about this whole thing, Keith, is that the owner's side and the commissioner's side and the player's side and the umpire's side, we've never really used anything along these lines to this extent. We've had it in play for a few years with the home run calls, and that's gone fairly well, but there's still a lot that needs to be corrected with that as well. But we're all kind of going into this kind of blind, and and it's going to be a work in progress, and it may be, a year or two before the kinks kind of get worked out. But everybody's been working real hard with it, the commissioner's office people, our people, and the players union. And hopefully we can go back to the owners and say, okay, this is what we've got. We think that this is going to work well, and this is what we're going to go with for this year, and hopefully they'll approve it, and we can get rolling with it.
Talking with Major League umpire Sam Holbrook, and talking a little bit about this expanded use of replay in baseball that is expected to get underway, as Sam said, in the 2014 season. And Sam, they did experiment with it a little bit in the Arizona Fall League, and they had that most of the calls that were reviewed, about 80%, I think, something like that, were confirmed that the umpire had made originally. But one thing that they noticed there, too, was that it did seem to actually speed things up in those situations, preventing those long arguments. And as you say, that's one of the top concerns. Has there been any communication back and forth about between umpires about the Arizona Fall League experiment, or is that something you'll get into with your meetings coming up?
We'll get into it a little bit more with our meetings. I'm actually on our board of directors with the union, so I've been privy to a little bit of that. And I was actually out there for one of the games and got to see it in action for a couple of innings out there. And you're right, it did, and they overdid it. They asked the managers to come out and ask the umpires to take a look at plays, even if they were remotely close, just so that we could get some practice at it and see how it was going to work. And for the most part, it came off okay. But the one thing that you have to think about is that they were only looking at one game at a time right there. And when you get into the regular season and you've got as many as 8, 12 games going on at one time, the question of how are we going to cover that from one replay location with however many replay umpires that we're going to need and so forth. So there's some questions with scheduling and stuff like that. But like I said, it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a very fluid situation, and we'll work hard to get the kinks worked out of it. Umpires are very loyal and very hardworking, and we will do our best to make it work, no matter what situation that we're faced with.
One of the big news items from baseball in the off season is the Hall of Fame election, and those results announced just yesterday as far as the players concerned. And the inductees will be Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine and Frank Thomas, along with the 3 managers that were named by the expansion era committee back in December: Tony La Russa, Bobby Cox, and Joe Torre. I wanted to ask you in particular about Maddux, because your career and his, and of course Glavine and Thomas as well, have all overlapped. And Maddux was known for having such great control and having some unusual pitches, like his little backup slider that would come in on the right-hand hitters after they'd given up on it outside. Did you umpire many games with Maddux on the mound when you were behind the plate? Did you have a chance to see him in action very much?
Yeah, I had a few with him, and Glavine as well. And also had Frank for a few games, and it's kind of dating myself. It's kind of hard to believe that all 6 of those men that are going into the Hall of Fame I worked with on the field during my career. But those guys were unbelievable, just very, very talented. To watch Maddux go out there and work, because he wasn't overpowering or he didn't have one particular pitch that was just, something that was unhittable. He had a bunch of different pitches that he could move around and change speeds and locate and make guys swing at pitches that looked like they were going to be strikes but wound up out of the strike zone and so forth. And it was really, it made it hard on us to work, because he was always, right there, right around the corners and nibbling. So you had to kind of split hairs with his pitches, but to watch him work was like watching a master out there, and he was very well deserving of making it to the Hall of Fame, as the rest of the other 5 guys were. But it was neat to watch those guys go about and practice their craft. They were truly great pitchers. You got some guys out there that just go out and overpower people and have the talent to do that. But these guys went out there and actually, worked their craft a lot better than a lot of other people did.
When you're scheduled to umpire behind the plate, do you try to know in advance who's pitching, or is that something you don't even want to know until you get to the ballpark? I'm thinking of a guy like Maddox is out there. Of course, after a while, I mean, he's a superstar. Everybody knows who he is, and everybody knows his approach to pitching, whether they have any success against it or not. But they certainly know what he tries to do out there. Is that something that you want to know in advance, or how do you go about that?
No, I mean, not really. There's been days that I've gotten to the ballpark and had no idea who was pitching. There's other days that, you just happen to see the rotation and you see who's coming up and you do know who's coming in there. But, my approach to my job is no matter who it is out there pitching, no matter who's hitting or whatever, they've got to throw it through that zone, and I've got to determine whether it went through that zone or not. So that's the only thing that I'm really concentrating on. And you can only do that pitch by pitch. If you go into it looking at, I've got so-and-so pitching and, I've got to watch out for this, I've got to watch out for that, you're going to outthink yourself. As an umpire, you're more of a reactionary, or at least I am. You react to whatever that pitch is that comes in. You hope you get the best look at it and try to take your time and do your best to get the pitch right. So.
You're listening to Lexington Legends Inside Scoop. More with Major League Baseball umpire Sam Holbrook when we return right after this. Talking with Major League umpire Sam Holbrook on Legends Inside Scoop, and we mentioned some of the unusual deliveries of Greg Maddox, but the really unusual delivery that you don't see a whole lot in baseball anymore is the knuckleball. What about when a knuckleballer enters the game? Have you had to deal with that? And that seems to mess everybody up.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like trying to determine whether a butterfly came through the strike zone or not. But basically what you do as an umpire is you just we have one of our mechanics that we use is called timing. Some guys have slower timing than others, but when I've got somebody, if I'm feel like I'm struggling behind the plate, or if I've got something along those lines with a guy that throws a real big breaking curveball or something along those lines, I'll just tell myself to slow my timing down just a little bit more, see the pitch all the way in, see it hit the mitt, and, let my mind catch up with that pitch as to whether or not it came through the strike zone or not. So usually just by slowing down a little bit, that'll help you get through the pitchers that do something maybe a little bit different than your normal fastball slider type guys.
Talking with Major League umpire Sam Holbrook, and we've mentioned the number of years now that Sam has in the major leagues, having broken in 1998. But Sam, I'm sure as we've talked before, those memories of your minor league days are still very much with you, because that's a very challenging time in a young umpire's career. Probably a lot of fun, too, as you work your way up. But at the same time, it does offer some challenges. And I always like to put it in context for our fans here at Whitaker Bank Ballpark that see the South Atlantic League two-man crews come onto the field. Talk a little bit about the challenges of umpiring in the low minor leagues, the two-man crew being just one of those challenges.
Yeah, I mean, people come to the ballpark here in Lexington and go out there and they see the two umpires walk through the gate, and they really have no idea what those umpires have gone through to get there. First of all, they've made it through umpire school, which is going on right now down in Florida. There's probably, I don't know how many they've got down there in class right now, but there's probably around 150 students at the Wendelstedt School down there. And they're in their first week of umpire school. So they're just learning positioning and learning the rules and how to handle players and managers and so forth. But those umpires working in the lowest levels of the minor leagues, they drive everywhere they go. It's just the two of them. So as soon as they're done with the game here in Lexington, they may have to drive to help me with some of the longer trips up into
Lakewood, New Jersey, or Kannapolis, or Savannah.
Yeah, Kannapolis. I mean, if you can imagine leaving at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night from Lexington and driving to Kannapolis, and then having to work a game that following night, that kind of wears on you, and you've only got two people that can do the driving. So that's kind of tough. But they want two-man crews in the minor leagues so that the umpires can practice their craft behind the plate, and that's where the consistency comes from. And you're right. It was a lot of fun, especially if you have the right kind of partners that you get along with and work well with and enjoy each other's company, because you have to, because you're basically with them 24 hours a day almost for the 5 or 6 months that you guys are together working in the league. But it was a lot of fun. You look back on some of the things that happened and laugh about it, but it's that's what molds you and what makes you the umpire that you get to be as you get as old as I am. So wouldn't have traded it, but I was very fortunate and very blessed to be able to make it to the big leagues. Less than 1% of the people that go to umpire school every year will ever make it to the big leagues. So it's a big gamble. And those guys and girls that are down there working in the minor leagues trying to make their way up, they're just like the ball players. Their dream is to make it to the big leagues, and that's what they're out there doing. And they're doing the best out there that they can. So maybe give them a little bit of a break and realize what a tough life that it is for a minor league umpire to go through.
Now, of course, the travel in the big leagues is a lot different in terms of travel and accommodations. But one thing you mentioned to me last year was that the big league umpires are generally responsible for their own travel arrangements. Ever run into any difficulty, any situations where you had trouble making the next assignment?
Well, yeah, there's been a few instances. I mean, we fly commercial all the time, so the ball teams, as soon as the game's over with, they've got the TSA people right there at the ballpark. They check them out, screen them, put them on the bus, and as soon as they get to the airport, they walk on the charter flight, and as soon as everybody's on the plane, they leave. As far as the umpires go, if we have a night game, we can't get out until the next morning. So there have been a couple of times that due to canceled flights or weather or whatever, I've had travel days that have lasted from 6 in the morning until, just landing in the next city at like 5 o'clock and having to go straight to the ballpark and work. But those are rare. And it's just something that you learn how to deal with. And if you travel as much as we do, you can kind of get a sense for, if a plane if there's something wrong and they're thinking, that it might have to cancel or something along those lines. So you kind of learn how to scramble and work real well with our travel agency that we work through. And those people really take good care of us, and they can get us on another flight if they need to. But yeah, there's been a couple of close calls, but knock on wood, I've made every assignment that I've had. So that's good.
And, of course, in addition to the travel challenge, you're out there once we get into the heat of summer. You're out there all 9 innings. Just in a similar sense to how a player might deal with it, you have to deal with fatigue as well, because you've got to be sharp on every pitch if you're behind the plate, every play if you're in the field. How do you and others on your crew deal with the potential fatigue issue as you get further into the season?
Well, I haven't kept myself in the best shape if you see me on television, but your body just gets used to it, and I think it's the you're not really thinking about what your body feels like while you're out there on the field, because you can't. Because if you're thinking about something else, all of a sudden you're going to have a play and you're going to wind up missing it because your mind is someplace else. So I'm pretty much keyed in on each pitch and each play when I'm out there on the field. Now, the next morning or whatever, when I go to get up out of bed and the old body's kind of creaking and popping and so forth, that's when you think about it a little bit. But just try to do a lot of stretching and doing what you can do to keep your body in shape. It's a tough life. I mean, when you think about it, you're on the road for basically 7 months out of the year, and you're eating restaurant food or fast food or whatever, and it's just hard to maintain a real healthy lifestyle. Some guys do better than others do, but you do what you can just to keep your body in shape and working shape, and that's what spring training's for. That'll help get your legs back underneath of you, get the soreness, stiffness out, and you'll be ready to go for the season. So
we talked about how closely the umpires have to work together, and the crew assignments normally made about this time of year. Have you heard about the crew assignments this year?
Have not, no. Usually they come out around this time right now, but that's another thing that is kind of in negotiations with Major League Baseball as far as how many new hire umpires that they're going to have to bring into the fold in order to cover the replay aspect of it. So I think they're kind of holding off on that to see exactly how many AAA umpires are going to be promoted to the big leagues and get big league jobs before they start splitting the crews up. So we'll probably know something here within the next 3 weeks or so.
Been talking with Major League umpire Sam Holbrook on Inside Scoop. And Sam, the season again, as we said earlier, will be upon us before we know it. And best of luck to you as you continue your travels around baseball and your umpiring career, which has been very successful now. You're 15 years or so in the major leagues, and certainly, as you say, that's the odds were against you when you started out in umpiring school. So congratulations on all the success, and have a great year this year.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it, and all the best to you and everybody here in Lexington and Central Kentucky. Hope it's a great baseball season for everybody.
That was Major League Baseball umpire Sam Holbrook, our guest on Legends Inside Scoop. That'll do it for this show. We invite you to join us again next Thursday night from 7 to 7:30 p.m. for Legends Inside Scoop right here on ESPN Sports Radio 1300. Thanks to producer Sean C. and to our guest Sam Holbrook. I'm Keith Elkins. Again, thanks for listening. Join us next time on Legends Inside Scoop.